Top 6 Scariest Haunted Islands in the World. There are many beautiful, pristine islands in the world, but besides that, there are also islands that only need to be visited once. Tourists do not intend to go back there again because of their horrifying experience. In fact, on some islands in the world, people still hear about the appearance of uninvited guests, wandering souls, or cold, cold cries in the night. Let's explore 6 famous haunted islands with us. Number 1. Hart Island. Located at the western of Long Island, New York City, USA, Hart Island is 1.6 kilometers long and 0.53 kilometers wide, with a cypress cemetery with more than 1 million graves, burying people infected with yellow fever 1870, the Spanish flu 1919, the AIDS epidemic 1981, and most recently the 2008 flu season. Until March 2020, Hart Island was once again used as a final resting place for those who died of COVID-19. Most of them were homeless, had no relatives, or were poor people who could not afford to organize a funeral. Back in 1868, New York City bought Hart Island from the federal government, which was the place where a prison used to hold Confederate soldiers during the South North American Civil War, and renovated a part of the island into a cemetery called Cypress of 600,000 square meters. At that time, this cemetery was dedicated to burying prisoners who would be sentenced to death, out of a total of more than 10,000 prisoners being held in New York. When yellow fever broke out in 1870, Cypress Cemetery was requisitioned to bury the ill to prevent the disease from spreading. After the Spanish flu 1819, the AIDS epidemic 1981, and the flu season 2008, from a few hundred graves, Cypress Cemetery has increased to 1 million graves, including mass graves with several dozen coffins laid side by side. Before the COVID-19 epidemic took place, on average every day in New York, about 150 people died for many reasons, mainly diseases, accidents, old age, and a few deaths due to mutual payment between gangs or suicide. When the COVID-19 epidemic broke out, this number tripled, even quadrupled in some days, mostly due to infections. Many of them were homeless, living under bridges, by the roadside, or in subway tunnels. There was also no shortage of people who died without any relatives coming to claim their bodies. This island became the resting place of ill patients who died of disease or unclaimed corpses. This increases the magic of the strange ghost stories associated with the island. Number 2. Okinawa Island. It is the largest island in Japan's Okinawa archipelago and has a population of over 1.3 million people. This place is also considered one of the islands with the best health in the world. Like the Isle of Wight, many lands here are believed to be haunted, especially house number 2283. This house has been the witness to 2 tragic incidents. An officer beat his wife to death and a stepfather stabbed his stepdaughter to death. In addition, the golf course is also one of the more interesting ghost hunting spots. According to legend, 17 high school girls committed suicide on this island. At the end of World War II, about 40,000 soldiers committed suicide. People here have also encountered ghosts many times. One of the most famous stories is that of a taxi driver who took a girl home with a small child. Arriving at the place, the girl carried her child into the house to get money to pay the driver. After waiting for a long time, the taxi driver did not see the girl coming out and immediately knocked on the door. When he got there, he was shocked because he knew that the woman and the child had died many years ago. Number 3. Poveglia Island. The island of Poveglia is located in the north of Italy. In the 14th and 17th centuries, it became a quarantine point for people with epidemics. Dead bodies were grouped in large piles on the island and cremated. In times of crisis, as the epidemic spread, even those with very mild infections were exiled to the island of Poveglia and burned alive. There were about 160,000 people burned alive here. Today, the soil along with the remains of human corpses have formed a thick layer of dust that covers the entire island. In 1922, the Italian government built a mental hospital here. Patients said they often saw ghosts of disease victims. They could also hear the cries of people being tortured and burned alive. Those who had been here say that the island of Poveglia had always been shrouded in an atmosphere of evil and darkness. Sometimes screams and cries just spontaneously came out. According to a man who bravely spent the night on the island, as soon as he set foot on the island, a strange voice rang out, forcing him to leave immediately and not return. Number 4. Island of the Dolls. The island of Dolls, called Isla de la Muncasey, is located in southern Mexico, in the marshy area of Xochimilco. This island is located in the middle of Lake Texulo and is surrounded by a labyrinth of small canals. In the 1950s, Julian Santana Barrera, a man who loved nature and liked solitude, decided to move to this island to live in seclusion. In his memoirs, he said he felt the spirit of a girl who drowned in her 20s while living on the island and often haunted him. To help the soul escape, Julian hung the dolls on the tree. Later, Julian also drowned. Many believe that the girl's spirit called Julian to their side. Therefore, the island is even more spooky. In his book Left, Julian also had quite a few notes about the strange phenomena that he witnessed during his 50 years living on the island. Visitors said they were haunted by the lifeless eyes of the dolls. The image of dolls hanging on the tree also made many people feel scared when watching the island at night. Number 5. Isle of Wight. The Isle of Wight is home to 130,000 people. This haunted island is famous for the appearance of the ghosts of monks and single women. The west side of the island is inhabited by the spirits of drowned sailors and pirates. In some inns on the island, people still hear footsteps walking in the night. Ghosts of children at night often scream and play. In some houses, one can encounter ghosts everywhere, from the basement to the bar. At a hotel called the Priory Bay, the ghost of a young girl and her beloved dog are always wandering around. Ghosts also appear everywhere, even in the canyons, and do not cease to haunt the living. However, rumors about a haunted island do not stop the Isle of Wight from attracting tourists. One of the powerful guests who came here was Queen Victoria and the great writer Charles Dickens. Today, some travel companies also organize ghost hunting tours for tourists who love the feeling of adventure when coming to the island. Number 6. Dead Man's Island. Located south of Stanley Park in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, it is a small island, but visitors to nearby Stanley Park are mostly unaware of its existence. Behind the island's calm exterior lies a dark and violent past since European settlers arrived. The first indigenous people here simply called it Island, but after a series of events, it took on the more frightening name Dead Man's Island. According to legend, the land was first stained with human blood when the Salish Aborigines in the north and south slaughtered each other. In a fierce battle, the southern tribe kidnapped 200 women, children, and the elderly, locked them on the island, and demanded 200 warriors on the enemy's side in exchange. When the northern tribe agreed to hand over the 200 most elite warriors, they immediately slaughtered them all with knives and bows. After that day, flowers of fire sprang up at the place where the dead fell. Given that the place was cursed by magic, the southern tribe had to abandon the land. From then on, the island became known as the Island of the Dead. Indigenous people see it as the land of the forgotten dead, suitable only for burial. From 1888 to 1892, smallpox hit the area, and the island became a place to monitor patients. Although it was ostensibly special accommodation for the sick, at that time the sick were considered moving corpses. Many people who died from the disease were buried on the island instead of rowing boats back to bring their bodies back to be buried at the cemetery on the mainland. Rumors of island ghosts have not deterred entrepreneurs from trying to acquire the island and turn it into an amusement park, resort, museum, or memorial, but there are no plans to become reality. In 1942, the government assigned the island to the Royal Canadian Navy to use as a base, naming it HMCS Discovery. Since the base's construction in 1944, naval officers and reserve officers at HMCS Discovery have noticed many strange things, such as unusual sounds resembling broken glass, furniture being moved, voices shouting, walking, and chanting. Personal belongings constantly disappear and appear far away from where they are, while lights and electrical appliances often turn on and off by themselves. This is just one of many unsolved mysterious phenomena on Dead Man's Island, leading many to believe that the island is haunted. These are the top 6 most spooky and creepy islands in the world. Do you dare once again come to these islands to discover interesting things and to uncover the mystery of supernatural phenomena? Leave your comment below and press the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Goodbye for now and see you in the next videos.